Good morning. The topic for today's discussion is exodontia. As you all know, exodontia is the removal of tooth. Jeffrey Ho has given a beautiful definition on exodontia. It is the painless removal of whole tooth or root with minimal trauma to the investing tissue so that the wound heals uneventfully and no postoperative prosthetic problems is created. See, it has been emphasized here in this that it's a painless removal of whole tooth, which is very important, and then minimal trauma to the investing tissue so that the wound healing is much easier and uneventful. So what are the indications of exodontia? Only severe caries that cannot be filled or restored, tooth with necrosed pulp and periapical lesions like cyst, which cannot be treated endodontically, periodontally big tooth, teeth in the line of hair, that is the therapeutic radiation has been planned that can be removed prophylactically, teeth in the line of jaw fracture, fractured tooth that cannot be restored, pathology associated with the tooth like cyst. Then for prophylactic removal like orthodontic treatments, devitalized teeth, retained deciduous teeth, which doesn't allow the permanent tooth to come out, that can be removed, extraction due to prosthetic reasons like for complete denture fabrication, all the tooth can be removed, and implanted tooth. These are the common relation along with like supernumerary tooth and neonatal tooth. All these tooth are the indications of exodontia. Contraindications of exodontia are, there are local contraindications. There are the acute cellulitis, acute pericoronitis, acute infectious stomatitis, malignant disease, radiated jaws. It can lead to osteoradionecrosis because of the reduced blood supply. The systemic contraindications are uncontrolled diabetes mellitus, cardiac diseases like coronary artery disease, hypertension, etc., myocardial infarction, blood dyscharosis like anemia, hemorrhagic diseases, adrenal insufficiency because these patients will be on long-standing steroids, and undiagnosed subacute bacterial endocarditis. All the systemic contraindications, if the condition is modified, then we can go for extraction of tooth. Pregnancy, second trimester, should be very careful. Psychosis and neurosis. These are all the systemic contraindications of exodontia. Is there an absolute contraindication for exodontia? Is like some conditions like hemangioma, vascular malformations that is associated, leukemia, and end-stage renal disease are few absolute contraindications of exodontia. All other systemic contraindications, if the conditions can be modified, then we can go ahead with the exodontia. Principles of extraction. Main thing for any surgical procedure is a clear access to the area and a good vision of the operating field. The forces that we give should be a controlled force. Then there should be an uninhibited path of removal of teeth. For an exodontia, there is operator position as well as patient position. The patient position is for maxilla and mandible is different. For maxilla, the extraction, the chair should be slightly tipped backwards so that the maxillary occlusion plane is almost at a 45 degrees to the floor. The dental chair should be just below the shoulder level, like known as 8 centimeters below the shoulder level of the operator. Whereas in a mandibular, the position changes. The patient should be positioned in a more upright position and the occlusal plane is parallel to the floor. The chair should be below your operator's elbow. That is almost 16 centimeters below the level of the operator's elbow. Coming to the operator's position, the surgeon should be on various position around the patient. We have an upper quadrant, lower quadrant. In that, for all maxillary teeth, anterior mandibular and the third quadrant, the dentist is in the front of the patient. That's the third quadrant, anterior to the patient, and the operator comes in the front of the patient. Whereas in a extraction, the fourth quadrant, this is for a right-handed operator, fourth quadrant, the operator comes behind the patient. So the role of operator's hand. So when one hand is holding the forceps, the other hand is very important. The opposite hand plays a very important role in supporting and stabilizing the jaw when mandibular teeth and maxillary tooth is extracted. The opposite hand supports the alveolar process and provides a tactile information to the operator concerning the expansion of the alveolar process during the luxation period. So it is used to feel as well as stabilize the alveolus of the patient. So this picture shows the various positions in which we can stabilize the maxilla and mandible. So coming to the methods of extraction, we have closed method, open method. This closed method is also known as intra-alveolar method, and open method is also known as transalveolar extraction. Closed method intra-alveolar extraction or forceps extraction consists of removing teeth with the use of forceps and elevators. Whereas transalveolar extraction, it's an open method, also known as open or surgical extraction of teeth. So coming to the intra-alveolar method of extraction, there are various forces are given for forceps extraction, like apical forces, buccal, palatal or lingual forces, lateral forces, rotational forces, depending upon the type of tooth which you are extracting, or depending upon the root morphology, we decide which force has to be given for extracting the tooth. You have single-rooted tooth, you have conical root, you have multi-rooted tooth. So all this depends upon the anatomy of the tooth which you are planning to extract. So maxillary incisors, like you hold it more apically, an apical force, then a buccal and a palatal force. The conical roots, you can give a rotational forces also. Usually a buccal and lingual forces are used for extraction of the maxillary incisor tooth. Maxillary canine, as you all know, it's a long root, it has a very long root. You hold it most apically, and apical forces can be given. You give more of a labial and a palatal forces, then a pull force or rotational force can be given for extraction of the maxillary canine. Premolar, first premolars usually have two rooted tooth. Prophylactic extractions of premolars are very common. So in this picture, you can see the operator's hand supporting the alveolus, and the other tooth is used for extraction of the tooth. You should always have in your mind, you have a two root in this. First premolar, buccal, palatal, and tooth is moved out. Maxillary molars usually have three multi-rooted tooth. The basic concept here is expansion of the bone, where you give an apical force, a buccal and a palatal force, and it is taken out. Mandibular tooth, anterior tooth, you have a single root till canines, premolars. Then you go for a multi-rooted tooth in the posterior mandible. Premolars are much easier to be removed. You can give a buccal, palatal, and you can remove it. This picture shows the various forces which you can give for extraction of the tooth. These are the forces which you give for the mandibular tooth, buccal, palatal, and more towards buccal side. Mandibular molars, mandibular third molars, the same way, multi-rooted tooth, two roots, usually apically it's held, buccal, palatal, and it's buccal, lingual, and then it is delivered buccal. These are various forces which we use for a closed technique, that is forceps extraction, where the basic concept is severing of the periodontal ligament fibers and expansion of the bone. Then we deliver the tooth out. Transcellular extraction is like any tooth which resists the normal moderate force during the intraalveolar extraction. You can go for transcellular extraction. Unerupted tooth which cannot be removed by routine intraalveolar extraction can go for transcellular extraction. Fractured tooth or roots which cannot be removed by forceps method can be used for transcellular extraction. Hypercementosis, dilaceration, and unfavorable curvatures of root are other indications for transcellular extraction. Coming to the method of transcellular extraction, first the anesthesia is given. A mucoperiosteal flap is raised for good access to the area. Guttering of the bone or removal of the bone is done with burr. In most of the cases, sectioning of the tooth can be done. Removal of the tooth can be, section tooth can be done. Then hemorrhage has to be arrested. Wound has to be debrided. Irrigation of the area and debridement of wound can be done. The suturing of the flap can be done. So after this closed and open methods of extraction, there are a few complications that are associated with extraction or exodontia. That is an intraoperative complication and postoperative complication. Intraoperative complication, that is the immediate complication, failure of the tooth to move. That is one complication. Fracture of the tooth along with alveolus. Sometimes if unwanted force are given, it can lead to fracture of mandible, and it can also lead to tuberosity, maxillary tuberosity fracture. Slippage of instruments or forceps can cause mucosal laceration and puncture wounds on the gums and the floor of the mouth. Luxation of adjacent tooth can happen if you slip the instrument or unwanted forces are given. Displacement of root into the spaces, that is the submandibular spaces, can happen. Nerve injury can occur. Hemorrhage can occur. These are all intraoperative or immediate complications that can happen during exodontia. Delayed complications associated with exodontia are hemorrhage, pain, dry socket or alveolar osteitis, postoperative swelling, edema, hematoma formation, infections, trismus, etc. So exodontia is or the extraction of a tooth is actually it requires a certain amount of skill which can be occurred through constant practice, but the basic principles of exodontia remains the same. A painless, as Jeffrey Ho mentioned, a painless removal of tooth with minimal trauma to the soft tissue will help in better healing of the wound. With this, we'll stop today's discussion. Thank you.